This is Rusky Ed, and lesson 34 on Russian nouns is just about ready to begin.
You want to learn Russian, but you think it's too tough, too confusing, and all that stuff. Funny looking letters, what's that you said? It's time to learn Russian with Rusky Ed.
Today, we talk about the fall or the autumn time of the year, and we will start things off with Osien, which is the Russian word for autumn. Osien. As we all know, autumn begins in September, and the Russian word for September is Sentyabr. Sentyabr is the Russian word for September. And of course, immediately following September is October, and the Russian way of saying October is Oktyabr. Oktyabr. And then following October is November, of course, and the Russian way of saying November is Noyabr. Noyabr. Now, we already covered December in the winter months, and so we have now completed all 12 months of the year. It is sometimes necessary to talk about today, and the Russian word for today is Sevotnya. Now, Sevotnya is an interesting word because you will notice that the G has kind of a V sound instead of the usual G sound. And if we're talking about today, it may also be necessary to talk about tomorrow. And the Russian word for tomorrow is Zavtra. Now, in Zavtra, you will notice that the V has kind of an F sound. Zavtra. Now, if we want to talk about tomorrow morning, we would simply say Zavtra utram. And if we want to talk about tomorrow evening, we would say Zavtra вечером. Very simple. Zavtra utram, tomorrow morning. Zavtra вечером, tomorrow evening. And of course, if we're talking about today and tomorrow, we might as well talk about yesterday. And the Russian word for yesterday is вечера. Вечера. Yesterday. Phrases. It is now time for the phrases. Our first phrase is a very useful phrase for when you want to know what the date is. It simply means, what is today's date? And the way you say that in Russian is Какое сегодня число? Какое сегодня число means, what is today's date? Now, it is sometimes the case that Russian condenses several English words into a single Russian word. And here is such a case. If you want to say the day after tomorrow, all you have to say is послезавтра. One word, 4 words to 1, not bad. Послезавтра, the day after tomorrow. And now we have come to the end of lesson number 34 on Russian nouns. And so, it is now time for Rusky Ed to sign off and say, До свидания.
It's time to learn Russian with Rusky Ed.